Welcome to the Wealth is in the Details podcast. In this podcast, financial planner Peter Raskin helps families and business owners understand and prepare for their wealth journey. Along the way, thoughtful and detailed planning can provide clarity and confidence as clients confront a multitude of financial decisions. Listen in as Peter shares stories and insight into people's wealth journeys. Now, let's get into today's podcast.
Hello and welcome to Wealth is in the Details with Peter Raskin from Raskin Planning Group. Good morning, Peter. How are you?
I'm great, Eric. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. And I'm so excited about today's podcast because it's something that's near and dear to me. You've titled this, Invest in Yourself, Hire a Coach. And I'm a huge believer in coaching and coaches. And I know that today's guest is Kevin Poland from the Renaissance Group, correct?
That's right. I'm very excited to have him here.
Yeah. And I know that you and I've talked a lot about investing as part of a financial planning process. But in today's podcast, you're talking about hiring a coach because you, like you said, it's investing in yourself. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. I give you my perspective. I just feel like I've been so lucky in so many ways. And one of those ways is that I've always been surrounded by people that make me feel like they want me to succeed. And I think that's just so important as we're growing up. So, let's start with my parents and grandparents. They were definitely there. And thank goodness my dad's still with us and he still makes me feel that way. So I've been blessed in that way. And then, friends and teachers, and I always played sports as a kid. And frankly, I had, for the most part, just great coaches, from elementary school through college. So, again, that's luck. And then I think my wife has been, she's certainly my best supporter. And although, like a lot of men, I may not always take her advice, but she's definitely my best coach. And in business, I've always had mentors and associates that offered support and want me to succeed. So you add all that up over, my lifetime, and it's made a huge difference. Mm-hmm. And as I think about the last, basically 12, 15 years, I've been blessed with a great business coach. And so 12 years ago, I felt like I needed something new to help me grow the business. And I decided at that point that I needed some help, a professional, and whose job was to really help me meet my business objectives. And frankly, it's been one of the best business decisions I've ever made. And so Kevin Poland and I speak weekly. And after a conversation just a few weeks ago, I thought I got to have Kevin on as a guest.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't have him on earlier, but I just felt like my listeners would really benefit from a conversation with Kevin. And he's been instrumental in my business life. So, Kevin, welcome to Wealth is in the Details.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. So Kevin, tell our listeners about the Renaissance Group and how and why you work with people, business owners like myself.
Sure. Yeah, we are a business coaching and consulting firm. We work primarily with small businesses specifically that are owner operated, owner dependent. Most of our clients, they're very successful, but they're stuck somewhere. The owner is frustrated with, something about their business. Primarily, a lot of times it is around growth. And so that's what we'll focus on is business growth. Our core services are what we call business owner coaching that most people usually refer to simply as business coaching. We also do strategic planning facilitation. We'll facilitate 1 or 2 day strategic retreats for small business owners. And over the last, I'd say 3 to 5 years, we've added leadership coaching, primarily for small business leaders who aren't the owners. A lot of times we'll work with, as we help a company grow, we'll help the other leaders within the owners in addition to besides the owners, in addition, helping them to develop the leadership and management skills they need.
That's great. And so how would you define business coaching? What is it?
Okay, great question. Well, we think of it as a process that helps the business owner both define and kind of clarify their definition of success and then help them achieve it. The way we do that is through skill development, working on some of the skills that are missing, some of those leadership and management skills, providing ongoing feedback, and then holding them accountable. One of the important things to think about when we talk about helping them, reach their levels of success is, success means different things to different business owners. In general, most definitions do revolve around some type of pursuit of more, more customers, more revenue, more profits, those types of things. So while they're all necessary and important part of the business ownership, a lot of times we feel that's not the best path to success and the most fulfilling thing for the owner. So at the Renaissance Group, we work a lot in helping them not only grow their business more revenues, but also more life. We want to make sure that the business is the vehicle to help them attain more life, not just, have the business suck the life out of them. So one of the starting points we work on as part of our business coaching is to start with what we call the primary aim, helping them be clear on what their definition of success in the personal side of the business. And then that gives this idea of having a purpose of what the business could be used for. So then we can go to work on the business to help them get their definition of more life.
It's so interesting. There's so much. There's a correlation between what you do for a business owner and what we do for our personal financial planning clients, and it really starts with a process. At least that's the way it appears to me. So it's the process that drives your relationships with the business owner, and it's the process that drives our relationship with our clients.
Right.
Kevin, why would a successful business owner hire a business coach? What problem does the coach solve?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, success creates different types of problems for business owners. So the ones we work with, we typically see the problems fall into three different buckets. Typically they'll have some type of time problems, people problems, or money problems / like cash flow. So time problems you'll usually will be described in terms of things like, I feel overwhelmed. There's not enough time in the day to get everything done. My people are overwhelmed. My business is running me versus I'm running my business. And of course, one of the bigger ones is what most people call that, work-life balance. But basically, a lot of small business owners have no life outside of their business. They don't have time to take vacations. And for the ones who do, they feel guilty about their vacations and they're always thinking about work. So a lot of the problems we solve are around time problems. The next biggest one is people problems. Small business owners have a lot of difficulty getting people to do what they're supposed to do. So that's what you'll hear, things like that. My people don't finish the work they're supposed to do in a timely manner. They make too many mistakes. They don't do the work the way I would like to do it. And then the other thing that small business owners I hear a lot is, I don't like managing people. So a lot of people problems. Does that sound familiar, Peter? And then again, depending on the industry, it could be money problems. So although successful financially, a lot of them don't feel especially based on, connected to the time thing, based on the number of hours they put into the business, they don't feel they're as successful as they should be. And so there could be, depending on your business, also some cash flow issues, to keep the business growing, maybe business valuations. They're not, the business isn't as worth it as much as they thought it was. I know, as your firm has evolved over the years, you're doing more exit planning with business owners. And I think a lot of times they're surprised at what their business is really worth. It's usually less than that they thought. So those are some of the money problems. One quick thing about these, a lot of these things, time, money, and people, are more symptoms than actual causes. So these are the things the business owners will talk to us about. But what we found is the true problem that we solve, what really is the root cause, is that the business in general is too dependent on the owner themselves or a few key people. And that owner usually is doing the wrong type of work in their business. What's keeping them stuck, what's preventing them from growing, is what's missing from their small business. And usually it's the leadership and management work required to get their business to grow. So the real problem we're solving is number one, is teaching businesses to do the business owner to do the right work when they are in the business, and to make the business less dependent on the owner. So it does have the ability to grow if that's what the owner's choice is.
Yeah, I see that as those are such huge issues, and we'll talk a little bit about that, I'm sure, as we continue the conversation. Could you describe this process of business coaching? How does it work? What's it look like?
Okay, great. For us, we meet virtually with our clients, typically 2 to 3 times per month. And what we'll do is we try and break up what we're working on into small, doable chunks. And we'll work on one specific item per meeting, because what we find is the most important thing is to make sure that the business owner is actually implementing the ideas that they're learning. And so we have a framework for growing a business that we use as part of our coaching program. And what we like to do is we like to think about, what's missing from the business. So we'll evaluate where the business is today. And what we'll notice is there are things that are missing from the business. There's certain strategies that are missing, certain systems that are missing, and certain people are missing from the business. And so what we do is we break the business up into what we call the 7 centers of management attention, and we'll look at the fundamentals in each one of those. They are leadership, management, marketing, lead generation, lead conversion, customer experience, and finance. So just to give you a quick specific, a typical meeting. So maybe during a meeting, we're going to work on the business owner with the business core values. What we'll do is we'll share the Renaissance Group's tool for helping the business uncover their business core values. I'll explain it to the business owner, answer any of their questions, and then they'll have some homework. They'll go and work either by themselves or with their team. They'll come up with their business core values. And then in the next meeting, we'll go over those core values, make sure that they're clear on what they are for them, but also how they're going to use them in the future. So I think, if I'm explaining this correctly to your audience, think of it as almost like compound interest. We're working on little things, one piece at a time, that might not feel like it's definitely, our program is not a quick fix. We're making gradual small steps to getting them where they want to go. Does that help? Does that explain? And obviously we've worked together, Peter, so maybe you can put your point of view on this, but does that help?
Oh, definitely. I think there are a couple of things that were so important to me as we started our coaching relationship, was that it broke it down into manageable chunks of activities. It wasn't I needed to do it all in one fell swoop. It took a long time and it took an effort, but it was manageable. And then it was also having someone there who kept me accountable for actually working through the process. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, that was really vital. I think that was very helpful because it was attainable. I could be successful through this process because we were meeting, the 2 or 3 times a month, and you gave me time to get it done. And so it was really a beneficial experience, and it still is. Kevin, that's fantastic. Could you give us just a little a sense of how you got into business coaching?
Sure. It was totally by accident. I was an engineer for a pharmaceutical company in New Jersey when my wife got a really fantastic job offer in Tampa, Florida. So we decided to give it a shot. to my surprise, I had this very Northeast point of view about the world. I didn't realize that in Florida, they have something called sunshine dollars. They believe that the weather is so nice, they don't have to pay you a lot of money. So I couldn't, in a sense, find a job, at least find a job that would pay me what I wanted. So like most people who leave corporate America, I started my own business and became a consultant. And, like every small business owner, I was doing everything myself, the chief cook and bottle washer thing. And one of the things I did was make the sales calls. And I happen to have a sales call in Orlando, which is, roughly an hour from Tampa. And so I like to use that time to do some education. And if you remember, so this was the late 90s, there were no podcasts available to educate people like yours, Peter. What we remember in those old days, what we used to do was listen to cassette tapes in our car. And if you remember that Nightingale Kona, they used to have a plan where they'd send you the tapes for, I can't remember if it was 14 days or 30 days. And you had a choice whether, to keep them or send them back. If you kept them, they charge you. If you send them back, they didn't. So a set of tapes were sitting on a table, and my wife, Jody, said, "Hey, are you going to listen to those tapes or should I send those back?" And they were by this small business expert called Michael Gerber. And I said, well, I got an hour drive. I might as well listen to it. And to be honest, those tapes, changed my life. I was listening to this guy. I had never heard of him because I came from the big business world, but Michael Gerber was this expert at small business. And this was a recording of one of his live events. And what he has a unique presentation style. He was yelling and screaming, not in a bad way. I don't know if you've ever heard him speak, Peter, but like in a positive way, talking about what he was calling the E-myth, which is the entrepreneurial myth. And he's saying that most small businesses don't work, the owners do. And because the owner is working in their business, they're doing the wrong type of work. And I was just amazed at what he was talking about. And everything he said made sense. He's talking about that most small businesses, this E-myth, most small businesses are started not by what we believe to be entrepreneurs, but by technicians suffering from an entrepreneurial seizure. In other words, it's a person who has some type of technical skill and they're good at it. And it probably goes something like this. They're working in someone else's business, doing some type of technical work. And then one day it hits them. Maybe they're at work and their boss yells at them for something. Maybe they're sitting in traffic either on the way home or the way to work. It suddenly hits them that they hate their job. They can't stand their boss. They say, any dummy can run a business. I'm working for one. And once they start to listen to that voice, they decide to open up, their own business, hang their own shingle. And that's what Gerber's talking about, this technician suffering from an entrepreneurial seizure. The accountant opens up an accounting practice. Obviously, the lawyer opens up a legal practice. The poodle clipper opens up a poodle clipping business. So they start to run a business that does this technical work, and yet they never learned how to run a business. And so what he was saying is they make this mistake of working in their business rather than on their business. And they never put in the systems, the strategies, the processes to get the business to run themselves. And so I was amazed by what he was saying because I was making all the same mistakes myself. And so what I ended up doing is I actually bought his book, the E-Myth Revisited. I read it and I called them and I asked them if they were hiring consultants because my business wasn't working out the way I planned. I'd love to be a consultant for them. And they said, no, but what we will do is license our coaching system to you. So that's how I got into coaching. I ended up licensing the Gerber method that they called certified E-Myth consultants. And I believe, part of the second group ever to be certified as E-Myth consultants. And that's how I got into business coaching.
It's when I met you the first time in Las Vegas, and you spoke to a group of financial advisors like myself, and it was the first I had ever heard of E-Myth. And one of the things you did as I hired you was send me the book, and it also changed my world. It's a great read, and I would recommend it for anyone, whether you own a business or not. It's a really transferable concept that I think is so important for for lots of different aspects of life.
Right. Do you remember what was the part that resonated most with you?
I think the important part was that you need systems and processes
Mm-hmm.
so that other people can help you build your business.
Right. Good. Yeah.
And then it wasn't just my internal knowledge. I had to impart that information and that system and process that I had, built over 25 years of just working in the working in the business. It was
Mm-hmm.
all in my head. And I needed to help people understand that there are systems and processes that need to be implemented on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah. Good.
So it worked for me.
Good.
And, I think that's a great story, and I thank you for sharing it. Do you have any other specific stories you can share? Because I think that's our listeners love stories like that.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think, and one of our earliest success stories actually came from your industry as well, Peter, from financial services. I was doing a series of presentations for a broker dealer called Raymond James, their top advisor group, and two advisors from one of my presentations approached me saying they are part of a 6-partner practice in Chicago, and they were also struggling trying to figure out what their next stage of growth was. And so I met with all six of the partners. We ended up doing a strategic retreat for them. And what we discovered, what was holding them back was they were really 6 individuals running 6 small businesses, just kind of sharing resources and overhead. They weren't really a real business. And that was what their sticking point was. And they wanted to become a real business. And you know as well as I do, Peter, in your industry specifically, the big reward, the big kind of ego boost is the person who brings in and sees the individual clients, and they're traditionally also paid the highest. And so this firm had a problem. They really needed some structure, some hierarchy to really take their business to the next level. They needed a CEO. And I know a lot of small businesses resist having a hierarchy, but if you want to scale your business, I know small businesses hate to be bureaucratic, but you really need a framework. You need to have an organization chart, and you need a CEO to help make the decisions. And so when we got the 6 partners together, what we worked on first was choosing a CEO of the 6 of them. And they ended up all agreeing who that was. It became pretty obvious who it should be. And part of the deal was all 6 of them were going to be paid equal, regardless who was bringing in clients or not, which I don't want to go too much into weeds, but I think, Peter, you can relate. That's a hard thing to do in your industry.
It certainly is.
Yeah. So they decided to, equal pay for everyone. So, long story short is, from a coaching standpoint, we help them change their business model. We help them put in the structure and then the systems and the leadership to grow their business. And currently, they're one of the largest registered investment advisors in Chicago, RIAs in Chicago. 2 of the 6 partners have cashed out and moved on and actually retired. And the one managing partner, the CEO, is still the CEO of that business. So very successful, like I said, from a success standpoint, we helped them with their business model, their systems, their structure, and then their leadership skills. Another great success story was a cleaning service company out in Southern California. They work from roughly LA County all the way down to San Diego County and then over towards Phoenix, Arizona. And they hired me. Actually, the son hired me of the 2 owners because they were transitioning. The son was going to take over ownership for his dad and his mother. And so what we initially worked on were developing his leadership and management skills so he felt comfortable running the company after his parents were gone. We also worked for a couple of years together. And as we worked together, we also worked on his business model as well. Cleaning services, commercial cleaning services, are pretty much a commodity business. And so what happens is everything is based on price. And in order for new cleaning service companies to kind of get into the market, they were constantly bidding lower and lower. So one of the things we did with this company was, with their business model, is we looked for what's called kind of bluer oceans. Where was, less competition, less commodities. And we moved into a booming market of this clean room services, clean room cleaning services. So clean rooms are used in biotech companies and chip manufacturers. And so I helped him transition his business into a new market that's much more profitable, requires much less labor, and freed up a lot of his time to continue to grow the business. And now they're starting to expand across the country into other clean room cleaning services. So again, and one of the interesting points of this was he was a referral. I was working with his financial advisor out in Southern California, and his advisor said, "Hey, you need to talk to Kevin. He can help you develop those leadership and management skills."
Those are two great stories. I think it sounds like these business owners recognize that in order to grow in a way that was going to give them a feeling of success, not just financial, but a sense of accomplishment, they needed to invest. And that's one of the great advantages of having a third party come in and help with vision and help understand, or at least expand the thinking that the business owner has been typically thinking about for a long time. So it just expands the horizon. And I think back to that, what we do from a comprehensive planning standpoint for individuals, we're often doing the same thing. We're working through that process, coming in as a third party, objectively helping them think about alternatives and options and concepts that will help them get to their objectives.
Well, I think the other thing, Peter, is, I'm sure a lot of times the clients will come to you with some initial problem, similar to the cleaning service, developing the leadership and management skills. But then as the financial planning process goes on, your clients evolve and their goals, change. And so your strategies change, and similar, like I said, the overlap with the cleaning service company, his goals change. And so, so the strategy changed.
Absolutely. And that's one reason why I so enjoy business, the financial planning business, because I get to work with people over a long period of time,
right?
Oftentimes decades. And you see the growth and the changes in their world. And it's just a wonderful experience working with just fantastic people. And I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yep. Yeah.
If someone is looking for a coach, how do they actually go about hiring someone? What do they do? What's the process that they should go through?
Okay. Yeah. I would start, with my peers, who your other current advisors are, maybe your attorney, your CPA, and obviously your financial advisor. Like I just mentioned, I was a referral to the cleaning service company from a financial advisor. Many of my clients have come to me directly from referrals from you, Peter, which I appreciate. Thank you. So that's a great place to start. The other place is, wherever you naturally turn to for education in your industry, whether it's blog posts or podcasts or presentations at conferences. I'm sure some of those people doing those presentations are coaches, some of those people writing the articles and that type of thing. Like I said, Peter, you mentioned We Met, where I was doing a presentation. So that's a great place to start. Most coaches, myself included, usually give some version of a free consultation. Take advantage of that, use that to kind of interview the coach. What you're looking for is a good fit. Are they going to help you get what you're looking for? Does that make sense, Peter?
Yeah, perfect. That's, timing is everything. And when I heard you speak, I was ready, and I was ready to invest in my business.
Good.
And in myself. And again, it was a good investment, I think. One of the things that we did early on in our relationship is you helped me work through a strategic plan. And you called it, and you still call it, the one-page strategic plan.
Correct.
And I just think it's a fantastic tool. And I'm hoping that you'd be willing to come back again and spend and speak to our listeners about that one-page strategic plan, to give them a specific idea and concept that they can walk away with. I'm hoping you'd be willing to come back again and speak to our listeners and show them how this one-page strategic plan works. So is that something you'd be willing to do for us?
I would love to. As you mentioned, it is a fantastic tool to help you both define and achieve, your long-term vision and goals.
That's great. So we'll definitely have you on again. We'll have a series of Kevin Poland.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. In the meantime, if someone wants to reach you specifically, ask any questions, how do they do that?
I would love for them to actually go through you. I want them to reach out to you, Peter, and you provide them with my contact information. You have my website, my email. So email's the best. Obviously, Renaissance is hard to spell. So I want them to reach out to you.
I'm happy to refer them on.
And then you can connect them to me. How does that sound?
Sounds great. That's
All
perfect.
right.
Great. And if someone's trying to reach me, you can head to my website at raskinplanning.com or call me directly at 617-728-7433. And Kevin, I really look forward to our next in a series of podcasts on the one-page strategic plan. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Guys, this is fantastic. I loved the content, just the discussion. I love hearing those success stories, Kevin. Thank you so much for sharing those. I look forward to you coming back. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks.
You bet. And Peter, of course, thank you for bringing him on. And obviously, it has changed your life, changed your business, engaging a coach. And again, just love hearing the success stories and bringing this to your audience. Thank you so much for bringing Kevin on the show today.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Of course. And of course, our last thank you goes to you, the listening audience. Thanks for tuning in and listening to the Wealth is in the Details podcast with Peter Raskin. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Peter comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thanks so much for listening today. For everyone at Raskin Planning Group, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Wealth is in the Details podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Peter Raskin is a registered representative of Lincoln Financial Advisors. Securities offered through Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation, a broker, dealer, member SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through SageMark Consulting, a division of Lincoln Financial Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance offered through Lincoln affiliates and other fine companies. Raskin Planning Group is not an affiliate of Lincoln Financial Advisors. Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation and its representatives do not provide legal or tax advice. You may want to consult a legal or tax advisor regarding any legal or tax information as it relates to your personal circumstances.